In this video, I will talk about 5 things that you should be aware of before moving to Finland. What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Oliver and I'm a master's student in economics at Aalto University in Finland. And on this channel we talk about education and early career development, specifically here in Finland. So if you're new here, do consider subscribing. Before we jump into today's topic, let me thank hoas for sponsoring this video. Hoas, or the Foundation for Student Housing in the Helsinki region, is one of the largest providers of student accommodation in the Helsinki metropolitan area. I've been living in their apartments throughout my studies and I really recommend that you guys check out their apartments. Links to apply in the description box below. So what kind of things do you have to take into account before moving to Finland? While I could list 1,000 things that might shock you in moving to Finland, the following topics are things that I've personally seen a number of international students struggle with, especially in the beginning when the reality has dawned upon them. So the first thing to be aware of is that due to the geographical location of Finland, we experience very strong seasons with stark differences between summer, winter, autumn and spring. These changes can really mess with you both physically and mentally if you are not used to them. First, Finland has a very long and a very dark winter, during which the sun barely comes out during the day. In Helsinki, which is in the southernmost part of Finland, the shortest day in the year, which is in mid-winter, only sees around 5.5 hours of sunlight. On the other hand, the northernmost part of Finland experiences something called a polar night, or kaamos in Finnish. This time, which at the northernmost part of Finland lasts for 52 days, is a period during which the sun does not rise above the horizon at all. So while the winter in Finland is long and dark, the summer here is a mirror image of it. So during summer, Finland sees an exceptional amount of sunlight, with the northernmost part of Finland experiencing a phenomenon called the midnight sun, which is a 70-day period during which the sun does not dip below the horizon. In Helsinki, the longest day of the year lasts for around 19 hours. So today is the 16th of May. It's 10:30 p.m. currently, and the sun set at 10 o'clock and we still have a huge amount of light and it's only becoming dark as we speak. So what's wrong with these drastic changes in the amount of sunlight? Well, a bunch of my international friends and colleagues have said to me that the strong seasons and the change in the amount of light was something they really struggled with both physically and mentally, especially during their first years in the country. So during winter, many of them felt depressed and continuously tired, while in the summer, some reported not being able to sleep because the continuous sunlight messed with their internal clocks. Some people get used to it faster, some a bit slower, but it is just good to know that these differences exist. So the second thing on the list is that Finland is an expensive country to live in. Everything from your rent to groceries to alcohol is expensive compared to many other countries, especially outside of Europe. However, if you come from one of the other Nordic countries, you should not see that big of a difference. So the reasons behind the high prices are not only because most goods are imported to Finland, raising most of the consumer prices, but most importantly, prices are impacted by the high taxes. So Finland has a relatively high VAT, or valued added tax, that is added to all goods consumed. With a general VAT of 24%, Finland ranks high even in European standards, with only these 4 countries using a higher percentage. In addition to the high VAT, some specific product categories have been imposed an additional excise tax that is often justified by public health concerns. These products include things like alcohol, tobacco, and soft drinks. For example, a simple imported beer at a bar will easily cost you 7 to 9 euros depending where you're spending your evening. I encourage you to check out the more extensive list from Numbeo, where they have gathered a good amount of data on prices, both on consumer goods and services here in Finland. Links in the description box below. Alright, so the third thing to take into account before moving to Finland is that even though it is publicly proclaimed that you can manage with just English, in my honest opinion, this is mostly true for tourists. However, if you're planning to move here for a longer period of time, there are some minor details that could surprise you in a negative manner. While everyone in Finland do speak good English and most normal things like, road signs, public transit ticket machines, and government websites are translated into English, there are still language barriers that you will encounter. There are a number of these, but just as an example, the most common case that I've heard of is that people get surprised when they go into a grocery store or a supermarket and notice that not all product labels have English names on them. So this could be a bit of a pickle, as many of the products here are naturally very different from those that you guys have in your country. A good example being milk and other dairy products. In Finland, we love milk and other dairy-based products, and when you go into a store, you will see rows and rows of different type of milk with different packaging and labeling. Some of them are for normal milk, some lactose intolerant, some low-fat, some are non-dairy, and some specifically made to go with coffee. So the problem is that in many cases there are so many product variations that using a translator app simply doesn't work. Rather, I would really recommend that when, and I really mean when, you find yourself in this kind of situation, go ahead and approach someone from the staff to help you with your groceries. At least for the first few times until you know approximately what you're looking for. They will most likely be more than happy to help you find what you need. Of course, you might encounter similar situations in many other places, but the solution in my mind is always the same. That is, asking for help. We Finns don't usually proactively offer assistance, but we always give you a hand when you ask for it. So the fourth thing to be aware before traveling to Finland is that once you step out of the plane into Finnish soil, you have officially arrived to the safest country in the world, at least if the World Economic Forum Index is to be believed. Not only is the overall crime rate in Finland low, but Finland also leads the world in the trust to police and the government, and according to Transparency International, Finland has the third least amount of corruption in the world, only being bested by New Zealand and Denmark. So while the trust in the government and the public institution is very high, I think it is also fair to say that a large part of the overall feeling of safety in Finland comes from the culture of mutual trust and integrity. We Finns are in general raised to believe in personal integrity and in responsibility towards other people. And in practice, this means that if you, for example, leave your wallet in a bus or at a cafe, you should expect it to find its way to a lost and found office with all your belongings still inside. The same trust extends to institutions like taxis, street vendors, and other similar businesses that in some other countries are subject to a large amount of scams. So the overall safety in Finland also means that it is safe for you to move around the city streets both during day or night without a fear of being harassed or robbed. I've heard some of my international friends tell me how in their home countries there is a culture of ever vigilance, basically meaning that you have to be constantly aware and alert just in case if something were to happen. This simply does not exist in Finland, and I'm sure that you will be happy with the feeling of security we experience here. Alright, the fifth and the last thing on my list of things that you should be aware of before moving into Finland is that it will take time to make friends here. We Finns are somewhat reserved, and making real friends here really takes time, effort, and commitment. So this is partly because of the aforementioned emphasis on mutual trust, meaning basically that you have to earn our trust before we really open up and start developing a deeper relationship with you. Why I'm using the term real friends is because, sure, it's easy to get to know people on the surface and to have a lot of acquaintances that you know and might even hang out with, every now and then. However, a real friend in Finland is something else entirely. He or she is someone you can always call to and who you can trust and rely on even when things get tough. However, I think the best way of explaining the difference between a real friend and a friendly acquaintance is that with the latter one, We don't really practice this, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back mentality, where favors are exchanged for personal gain. Rather, if you need a favor from a Finnish person, you really need him or her to trust you before you can approach the subject. For example, I have a few unfortunate personal experiences from my studies at the university when international students coming from cultures where this favors for favors mentality is more common, and they would expect the other students to carry their water and to help them get good grades even if they didn't put in the effort themselves, just because that's how friendships work. Sure, people do help each other, that's of course given, but you really cannot expect Finnish people to help you further your career or position if you haven't built that mutual trust. It simply doesn't work that way here. Many Finns will actually deem it very inappropriate to call for favors if you really haven't put in the effort to build that relationship beforehand. However, this also means that when you actually have built that common trust and that relationship, what you get from us is a real, genuine and honest friendship that you can expect to last for the rest of your life, and where help is not exchanged, but it is given whenever needed. So please don't be offended if we seem a bit cold at first. It's not about you, it's just that we still don't know each other well enough to really open up. But don't worry, we will warm up to you when we get to spend enough time together. Alright, that is it. I think being aware of these 5 things will not only make your move to Finland a bit smoother, but they can also ease the potential culture shock that you are bound to get at some point. Anyways, that is all for this video. If you found this video helpful, do give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who might be moving to Finland at some point in the future. Also, if you have anything to ask about this or any topic related to studying or building your career in Finland, write them down in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.